So, continuing our isolation drills. This is sword, specifically sword in one hand, although you can use a hammer or a club. Starting with our right foot forward. Starting with our right foot forward and left tail. And true edge defense. Turning the body, increasing the step, and coming up to Fenestra. Good. After the true edge. Now let's do it with the false edge. So we're going to turn the blade over and strike up. And then cross the line to frontale. Good. Switch hands, switch feet. In the isolation drills, we're going to drill both arms so that we get an even workout. So now we're down to our right with our left hand, and we'll do true edge defense from this side. Now we'll do false edge. So we'll be going from here up to false edge frontale. So the trick here is align the blade early, so it's almost a refused boar's tooth. As you go from right tail, I turn the wrist over, and then I start the strike, powering it with my hip action and the steps, actually, because I've got a pop step and then the turn. This has to be in true time, so the blade, the hand has to come out before the body moves. We have hand, body, foot. One more. Switch to the other side. Right foot forward, right hand. Now we're going to do a defense and a thrust with the true edge, and then with the false edge. So, defend. If we've gained the line, we're going to step in with the left foot, thrust. Then we're going to come back onto their weapon, assuming their weapon is still in a high line. If not, we'll pick the line that it comes to and we'll go to it. And then I'm going to exit out, coming through and cutting through. Again, defend, thrust, back to the weapon, exit. Defend, thrust to the weapon, exit. Defend, thrust to the weapon, exit. Good. Now we're going to do this from false edge. So we're going to start and we're going to turn the wrist over, false edge. Then we're going to wind as we come in and thrust, and then come back to the weapon, exit, cutting through. Three more. False edge, wind, thrust, back to the weapon, exit, through. False edge, thrust, back to the weapon, and exit. False edge, thrust, back to the weapon, exit. One more. False edge, through, back to the weapon, exit. Good. Switching hands, switching feet. We're going to the right side. And we'll do the same thing. We'll start with true edge defense, thrust, back to the weapon, exit. Again, true edge, thrust, back to the weapon, exit. Defend, thrust, back to the weapon, exit. bend, thrust, back to the weapon, exit. One more, bend, thrust, back to his weapon, exit. False edge from this side. False edge defense. Wind up, thrust, back to the weapon, exit. False edge, wind, thrust, back to the weapon, exit. False edge, wind, back to the weapon, exit. Back to the right hand. Right foot forward on the right hand. So what have we done so far? We've done defend with the true edge, defend with the false edge. We've done cut after the defense. We've done thrust after the defense, right? Oh, let's add something in. Let's add in a kick. Oh, yes, we'll add in a kick. So, true edge, kick, cut, back to the weapon, out. True edge, kick, cut, back, out. True edge, kick, cut, back, out. Again, true edge, kick, cut, back, out. Target area being gut, groin, knee, right? This is similar to the kick with the blade grab in the Fjord of the Very Longsword system. One more. True edge, kick, cut, back to the weapon, out. Now we're going to do this with a false edge. So, false edge defense. Kick, cut, back, out. Again, false edge, kick, cut, back, out. Again, false edge, kick, cut, back, out. Last one, false edge, kick, cut, back, out. Sword in the left hand, left foot forward, true edge defense, kick, and then cut. So true edge, right foot, kick, cut, back, out. True edge, kick, cut, back, out. Kick, cut, back, out. True edge defense, right kick, cut, back, out. Now I'll do false edge. So I have the wrist turned over, false edge defense. Right foot, kick, cut, back, out. So false edge, defense up to frontale, right kick, cut, back, out. And again, false edge, right kick, cut, back, out. Switch back over to the other side. So, now we're going to do elbow push. Just checking the time on the video here. We are approximately 10-15 minutes in. Good. So now we're going to use true edge defense and we're going to push the elbow. And we'll do false edge defense, push the elbow. Right? Actually, no. We're going to thrust and kick. Why not? Because we can. So, we're going to do a true edge defense, kick, thrust, back. So, true edge, kick, thrust, back. True edge, kick, thrust, back. True edge, kick, thrust, back. I'm going to do false edge, kick, thrust. False edge, wind, kick, thrust, back. False edge, wind, kick, back, false edge, kick, thrust, back to the weapon, out. Now the left hand, same thing. We'll start with true edge, kick, thrust, true edge, kick, thrust, back, out. True edge, kick, thrust, back, out. Now there's no reason you couldn't. True edge, kick, thrust, cut, back to the weapon. So there are other little variants here that I haven't shown because there are a lot of them. But for now we're just going to do true edge, kick, thrust, back to the weapon and out. Except now we're going to switch over to false edge. So, false edge, wind with a thrust, kick, thrust, back, out. False edge, wind for the thrust, kick, thrust, back. False edge, wind for the thrust, kick, thrust, back. Good. Switching back to the right hand. Right foot forward. Now we're going to add in the fishing or the pushing of the elbow. So, true edge. Your left hand comes out, push the elbow, cut, back, out. So true edge, the left hand comes in to push their elbow or wrist or even grab their pommel, right? So to push, and we can thrust or we can cut. In this first drill, are you good? So if you're kicking with your back leg, so if your right leg is forward, you're going to kick with your left. If your left leg is forward, you're going to kick with your right. Essentially, you're doing the same motion you would do for step. Now the context here is when we look at the Fury of the Berries longsword play, Largo longsword play with the blade grab and kick, the interpretation we have is that you've just barely taken the center and you need to kick him in order to give yourself the time in order to be able to get that strike in and then get back to his weapon. You could also argue anybody that's experienced would know exactly what to do if you come into the engagement, and kicking them is like a punch. It gives them a momentary stimulus or a momentary something else to think about while you continue your action. It can also cause people to panic if they see a kick coming in, and you might be able to get a second or third action, which we're going to look at later. So anyway, yes, going back. We're including the fishing, so the hand in, and then in a minute we'll use both fishing and kicking, right? So, true edge, right foot forward. For now, we're going to come up to the true edge defense. Take our left hand, which is ready by our left jaw or out by the left forearm. So anywhere in this region, as long as it's not here. Here it'll get cut off. Here, here, here. These are all good spots. Push the elbow as we come in and cut. And then back to the weapon and out. So, true edge defense, push the elbow, cut, out. And that elbow push I'm thinking of as a shove, right? Out, push, cut, back. Now for thrusting, so let's do the thrust next. We can come up, we can push the elbow and keep the hand there and thrust. And then retract the left hand if we wanted to cut on the way out, and then back, right? So earlier the pattern we've been using has been defend, thrust, and then out. But we can also defend, thrust, and if his weapon isn't coming right at us, we might have time to cut as well as coming back. Now in the Bolognese system, I'm used to hearing So one strike for him, come back to the weapon. Another strike for him, come back to the weapon, right? But that's more of a just a philosophical concept, I think. However, let's switch to the false edge. False edge defense. Left hand comes out, push the elbow, thrust. Back to the weapon, out. False edge. Push the elbow, thrust. Back to the weapon, out. False edge. Push the elbow, thrust. Back to the weapon, out. Now let's go back to the true edge. No, let's do this with the left. So left hand. So, true edge defense. Push an arm. Thrust. Back. Out. Now, if he's using the sword in one hand, you might not be able to reach his left arm. This might be grabbing his sword wrist or his pommel, right? You just want to get your hand on something to give you the momentary time in order to be able to do something else. So, true edge, push, thrust, back to the weapon, out. Two more. True edge, push, thrust, out. True edge. Right hand pushes on an elbow. If he's got a if he's got a long sword, you'll have access to his left hand, left elbow. If not, you're going to be grabbing his wrist, his right wrist, or the pommel, thrusting, back to the weapon, out. Now let's do that from false edge. So, false edge. Wind to a thrust position on his weapon. Bring the right hand out. Thrust. Back to the weapon. Exit. Two more. False edge. Wind. Push. Thrust. Back. Out. Last one. So starting an iron gate. False edge. Wind. Push. Thrust. Now let's do one more. False edge. Wind. Push with the right hand. Thrust. Out. Let's go back to right hands. Now let's do that same thing except with a cut instead of with a thrust. So right foot forward. True edge defense. Push. And now we're going to cut. Back. Out. True edge. Push. Cut. Back. Out. Two more. True edge. Push. Cut. Back. Out. True edge. Push. Cut. Back. Out. Now keep in mind that depending on distance, that push could be a punch, right? So, right foot forward, true edge defense, punch, thrust, cut, out. True edge, punch, cut, back, out. True edge, punch, thrust, back, out. So you've got a left hand, in this case, that can be used to push his wrist, push his elbow, punch him in the face, anything to kind of give you a little bit of extra time for a follow-on lethal thrust or cut. And if you get a thrust or a cut home, you can always follow up with another cut, another thrust. But that's going beyond the scope of what we're dealing with today, other than occasional mention. And if you were to add that into your drill, I'd advise one strike, collect onto his weapon, another strike, collect onto his weapon. And you can do multiple punches and multiple pushes as well. So if you're working with the Pell, strike, punch, cut, punch, thrust, punch, right? That's something you could do. Now let's go back to right foot forward. Let's do false edge. So, false edge defense, push or punch, cut, back to the weapon, out. Two more, false edge, punch or push, cut, back to the weapon, out. Now this is where you'll see my hand come up, is because if it's here, I can go straight in for a punch or for an elbow push. If it's down here, it's a longer action, right? In fact, if I have my hand right with my right hand, right in with my my left hand, right in with my right forearm, that's the fastest I can do things. I have to make sure it doesn't get out behind, or else somebody could cut under with the Rodopio and cut it off. In here, it's better, right? The other thing is that they may be coming in with the left hand. And if my hand is down here, I don't have a passive block or a quick block. Here or here, I do. Somebody comes in with the left hand, I can say, no you don't, and I can counterfish and come in, right? Okay. Let's see, we've gone through, I promised that we'd combine kicking and fishing. So let's wrap up this part of the practice with that. So, from the right, we're going to do true edge, kick, push, strike, out. So we're both kicking and fishing, and that could be a punch as well, but let's use the elbow push. So, defense, kick, push the elbow, strike, back to the weapon, out. Two more. True edge, kick, push, hit, back to the weapon, out. Last one. True edge, kick, push, strike, out, back to the weapon. I'll do the same thing with false edge. False edge, right? Kick, push, strike, back to the weapon, out. Now we could do a thrust as well, but for now I'm just going to do the strike. False edge, kick, push, strike, back to the weapon, out. Last one. False edge, kick, push, in, back to the weapon, out. Sword in the left hand. True edge defense, kick, push, strike, back to the weapon, out. Again, true edge, kick, strike, back to the weapon, out. True edge. Do we switch to the false edge? I'm confused. Let's switch to the false edge. So, false edge. Kick, push, strike, back, out. Defense, where the left hand comes high, kick, push, strike, back, out. False edge, defense, kick, push, strike, back to the weapon, out. One more. False edge defense, hand comes high, kick, push, strike, back to the weapon, out. Good. Grab a quick drink of water, and we'll switch. I'll take some questions, and then we'll switch over to the next section.